My name's Greg. Good afternoon. My name is Greg Smith. I'm Executive Director of the Florida Literacy Coalition. I'm joined today by my colleague Stephanie Rogers, and it's our pleasure to introduce you, excuse me, to to welcome you to our session this afternoon. I think it's going to be a great one on vocabulary acquisition, titled Words at Play, Fun and Functional Online Resources for Vocabulary Development. Now, we all know vocabulary acquisition is a very important skill set for many of our adult learners, and we're fortunate to have Harold Gertner with us to share with us some strategies and online tools and games that he's come across in his many years as an adult education teacher. Up until recently, Harold was the adult education career pathways and instructional specialist at Santa Fe College. Uh, Harold's done a number of different webinars for us over the years and also has been a presenter at our conference, and he always does a great job. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Harold. Actually, let me also do a quick shout out to the Florida Department of Education, and thanks for their support to make this session possible. So, Harold?
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. And thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be a part of anything the Florida Literacy Coalition is doing. And I'm happy to be here today for what I hope to be a fun and, as it says here, functional webinar, something where you will have a good time and you can also pull some ideas and instructional techniques or tools, specifically some games out of what we do today. So thanks for being here with us. And like Greg said, my name is Harold Gertner, and I've been involved with adult education here in Florida since 2013. Many years, well, that was all primarily with Santa Fe College, and I was for many years a career pathways and instructional specialist, and have taught all levels of adult education and GED preparation, as well as some of the upper levels of ESOL courses, all of our career and integrated education and training projects, and things of that nature. And yeah, I'm happy to be here, as I mentioned, with the Florida Literacy Coalition. Here's my email. If you have some follow-up questions later or want to get in touch, it's just haroldgertner@gmail.com. Of course, you can always find me through Greg and the Literacy Coalition as well. But let's get right to it. So really what we're going to talk about today is a few kind of just overview some kind of standard practices with vocabulary learning and vocabulary acquisition for both English language learners and native speakers. These are just basic sort of things that y'all are probably all aware of and all doing, but we might benefit from quick review. And then we'll talk a little bit about gamification broadly and the what's meant by gamification in education, and some of the review a little bit of research speaking to its benefits. And then we'll get into reviewing a series of games specifically related to vocabulary and language, and talk a little bit about how I've used some of those in classes over the years and the benefits I found. And then we'll have hopefully a little time at the end for some final reflection and maybe a little bit of sharing from some of the participants about any other ideas they have, or games they've encountered, or experiences with trying to gamify the classroom in some way. So when we're thinking about vocabulary and learning vocabulary, and as adults, we're hopefully not fearfully having a vocabulary phobia moment of elementary or middle school word lists and memorizing vocabulary for the spelling test every week and things of that nature. Hopefully we're already thinking in an instructional environment, or from our own experience later in life, how do we truly learn words deeply? And primarily that's through using them or learning them in a context where we're reading or in the workplace or things of that nature. So I'm sure many of y'all are teaching your students about uh, figuring out words in context, the definition of unknown words using a variety of reading clues, maybe, synonyms in the passage or overall context or tone or a relative phrase that was included of something of that nature. And those are all excellent tools that you should be teaching to help your students learn those words in context, right? Um, Now, you're not just going to sit there and learn a word one day and then move on and have it perfectly formed in your brain. You're going to need to repeat that word. And instead of just repeating it over and over and over in one day, like cramming the night before a test, we need to be practicing what we call spaced repetition, right? Ways in which the vocabulary comes back again and again purposefully. And much like advertising, I think it is the advertising world. They say you need to see or hear something. I believe, don't quote me on this if there's some advertising professionals out there. I know adult ed instructors come from a variety of first career backgrounds sometimes, but I believe they say 7 times you've got to hear or see something before it kind of sinks in, and then you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should buy some Colgate. Um, but something similar with learning. We all know that preparing for a test when it's the night before and you're trying to cram it all in, you're not going to learn it as well and as deeply. Even if you hold on to some of it through the test period the next morning, it's certainly leaving you far out, not far after that. But if you take time to prepare each night for a week or two beforehand, that information sinks in much more deeply. So spaced repetition, another standard overall learning practice, but great with vocabulary as well. Now, focused, personalized, or theme word lists. I know I mentioned the horror of some word lists in the past, and the idea of um, the fact that just random spelling lists maybe not be the best way to think about learning words. But here, what I mean is more in terms of native speakers or English language learners. Think about a career focus they may have. Maybe there is a career that they have in from their former country that they were performing, or something they're interested in getting into now that they're here in the United States, or again, a native speaker interested in getting into something, or something they know a little bit about, maybe a career area that their family's involved in that they grew up in. Focusing on some words and language related to that theme might have more weight or more power or more importance, which makes the learning deeper and easier and more a quicker pace learning at times. There's a lot of educational research out there that talks about how a great way, or I guess it's not based on the fact that we form memories from tying information to new information to old information. A great way to learn is to tie new information to old information. And so sometimes building vocabulary related around a context or a theme or a area of interest that students already know something about can be a great way to build that word list and vocabulary up more quickly. So that's kind of what we're thinking about there. Now, obviously, you've got to be able to read and listen both for acquiring words in context. Those are both ways to uh, learn vocabulary, and that kind of ties into what we mentioned up above. But learning vocabulary is also using it. So, of course, you've got your students working on speaking and writing and making sure they can actually use that word that new word they've learned, right? Now, moving on a little bit more into the specifics of today, we want to create learning needs to be a daily habit, and vocabulary work needs to be a daily habit. Any of y'all that may be trying to learn a foreign language yourself, not thinking of your ESOL students, but you yourself might be trying to learn a foreign language, you probably realize that if you don't keep it up daily, you slip back pretty quickly. The same's true with any sort of new skill you want to learn or new habit you want to make. Physical fitness. If you don't go to the gym every day, or if you're going every day and then you skip for a week, you slip back quite a bit. Or if you play an instrument, if you quit for a while, you can feel the extra oomph it takes to kind of get back in because you're not in your daily habit. Now, creating that daily habit is one great thing that gamification can help with. Okay, and so that's one of the things that we might gain from including some games in our classroom instruction or as homework. And so, with that, let's go ahead and move on a little bit into what we mean specifically by gamification. Whoops, there we go. All right, so really, gamification, the idea here is that we're just trying to add fun to the whole process of language learning and the idea of reinforcing the language that we're learning, right? Um, and games obviously are fun. The core element here is the more fun something is, the more motivated students are to participate, and therefore the easier it is to build a daily habit and to therefore progress more rapidly than if you were just kind of hit and miss a few times a week or week on, week off type of study habits, right? So, as we mentioned before, many language games really help reinforce this daily habit of studying, and not just that the game is all you're doing, but it builds in that practice, and then you maybe want to do a little more and work on some other studying. Kind of like if you start going to the gym and your goal is, I believe in starting with really small habits and then that are hard to break, because it's like, oh, I can go in and at least lift 10 pounds 5 times. And the next time you come back and it's 20 pounds 5 times, and then you build slowly over time, right? Well, as you start getting feeling better, you're like, well, I want to do a little bit more because this is going better than I thought it is. And it starts building and reinforcing. Maybe I'll start doing some running in addition to the weightlifting I'm doing, to because I want to build more into this overall fitness habit I've developed. Well, the same thing can happen with language learning, and little language vocab games can be the spark or the core that keeps that daily habit going, or that starts that daily habit. Right now, more broadly speaking, I know I'm going to share some specific games, but gamification in general is the idea of using game-like uh, aspects of games or game design techniques to reinforce learning or education goals. Mainly things like a point system or a reward system or even like a daily goal. These are things that are gamification, and they often make the activity more engaging and more fun. Any of y'all that are again interested in learning a new skill, many of my colleagues use their phone to track some of their fitness goals or their language learning goals, like on Duolingo or something. And if you are using anything like that, you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about. You get little points and little stars and little rewards, and you can set your different goals and you can meet or surpass those goals, right? There's even some running apps where you can set a group and basically run with your friends, even though y'all aren't actually running together. You see who ran how far each day, and it helps keep you motivated and kind of gamified. And so this is really all of our, and the students really who we're going to focus on in a minute, but our kind of natural desire for competition, for achievement, for doing better than we did the day before, or for doing better than a few of our friends in our learning environment. And let me see, I just popped up a few chats. Excellent. It looks like everybody's enjoying what we've heard so far and following along. And yeah, please feel free. There'll be a couple moments here further in the presentation where I will call on you for some specific input. But if any time you have some questions or some ideas you want to throw out there related to something you hear, please share it in the chat. We'd love to have you participate as we work our way through. Now, as I mentioned before, the goal is really to boost motivation and therefore improve material retention, because you're motivated and learning and repeating more often. And, this is really active participation and immediate feedback, and it's the kind of thing that really encourages more regular and deeper learning. Now, the other thing many of these games are doing, besides just reinforcing vocabulary, language, and knowledge and issues there, is they're focused on critical thinking skills and logic building skills and deductive reasoning. And you'll see what I mean here in just one second, but y'all may already be thinking about a few vocabulary games that some of you, I bet, may even play daily that are critical thinking skills and logic, kind of deductive reasoning games as well. And this really is important because on the GED, there's a lot of that type of thinking, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of deductive reasoning. And students in school are really supposed to get that if they didn't have like a logic or yeah, that sort of a class. They're really supposed to get that in algebra. And many of our students either did not take algebra or did and didn't do so well and have a kind of a math phobia is very common in America. And we need to help to teach them some of those skills in an area that's not completely yeah, it's not completely fearful. They shut down when they're afraid of things, and it's hard to learn when you're uncomfortable and afraid of things. And so we need to continue to teach those same logic, deductive reasoning, critical thinking skills in our language, science, social studies arenas as well in the math area when we're preparing students for the GED and for life, really, right? This is the way to not get fooled on the contract you sign or business deal you encounter or whatnot. Anyhow, let's move forward now a little deeper about gamification. So, gamification's been around for a while. It's not just a fun idea and a fancy term. There is well-established research to support the use of this type of approach in education. And of course, this was something that was done in many ways before the official gamification term and research came around. Students, teachers have been having gamified classrooms as long as there have been students and teachers practically. Um, and but something to keep in mind is gamification's not a panacea. It's not going to solve all your learning activities. Not everything can be learned through a game. It's just one portion of what you can do or one tool in your toolbox. Okay. But here is some information recently, just as recently as August of this year, this study was published that reviewed a variety of other studies and came up with some key findings about gamification and out there in the world, actually in practice, not just in theory. And basically, they spoke to the positive effects of gamification on student engagement, motivation, and learning outcomes. Now, again, not every single type of learning is going to be done through a game, but in general, academic performance and learning experiences were improved in a variety of educational contexts, as it says here. And so this basically demonstrates this is something we should be using and working with. And so we're going to move forward with gamification in the classroom. And hopefully some of these specific games we're about to talk about will be something you find um, useful and enjoyable. So let's see here. So a little deeper into what we're going to get into now. We're going to explore a few of these vocabulary and kind of critical thinking skill building games. I'm going to open each one up for you and show you a little bit about how it works and what it is, and hopefully get you in that way more excited, even if you're already excited about using these in your classroom. Um, do have some suggestions about ways you can integrate these into your lesson plans and such without, as I say here, without sacrificing any of your instructional time, because I know we all feel our instructional time is very precious, and it is, but this is hopefully going to be a benefit and add to your instructional time, not take away from. Um, and then also, as I mentioned earlier, hopefully we'll hear a little bit from some of y'all. So as we're working through here, think about some experiences you've had with some language learning games or vocabulary games, and or any that you've used specifically that we haven't mentioned out here in a moment. and please share those. All right, so um, a great place to start, or a common, easy one, kind of fun for again, these are all geared towards native English speakers and English language learners, is a word search, right? You're getting used to the patterns of words and letter combinations and things of that nature. And here is a great word search site. Okay. And you can uh, scroll down and, well, there's a word search maker for one thing that is great. And you can use your own words if you want to. If you had one of those themes you were working on from a career uh, focus, or maybe you're doing a holiday theme. It is fall. Maybe you're doing a fall theme and October Halloween stuff. It doesn't, all our language acquisition doesn't always have to be as serious as career related, even though in many of our programs, career and job preparation is a major focus, and that's a fun way to slip those things in. But here's a bunch of prepped word searches on a variety of topics, animals, food and drink, science. There's more categories down here, cities and places, maybe pull up some US history. Another thing I like to do with a lot of these things, if they start out as a introductory warm-up session, kind of getting ahead of myself with some of the ways we could use these in a classroom, but use one of these as a start-off session. Everybody's kind of coming in, working on their word search. Slowly, people are drifting because we know not everyone's always 100% on time to the class. And then maybe your next activity follows up a little more deeply in one of these subjects. Maybe you were working on something related to health and safety, and then built into that on an ESOL class, the language from Good Manners, that they were looking for words here into role playing and acting out discussions in a ESOL type environment. Lots of options here, right? All right, let's see what else we've got. Oh, I see a chat or two. I hope I didn't miss something. Oh, yeah. So some people are already doing some themes this fall. Story time with a fall theme, and can use some word game activities. Excellent. And thank you. Yeah, noticing these are life skills. The critical thinking. I'm not everyone here is preparing students for the GED, so I didn't mean to speak that that's the only thing. That's often what I've done in the past, but any of these critical thinking, skill building uh, activities benefits students in navigating life in the United States if they're new here, navigating, insurance, job contracts, health forms in the ER, all kinds of things. Which, speaking of health literacy in general, is a great thing that the Florida Literacy has some Coalition has some wonderful material on as well. Um, but I don't mean to get on too much of an aside. Let's keep moving on. So even though a word search can seem kind of um, introductory and basic to some students or some instructors, it can be a great jumping off point. And I do think there's a lot of good value in this kind of pattern recognition that comes with this practice as well, kind of looking for those words, forwards, backwards, upside down, every which way, right? All right. Moving on. This is the one I was thinking of earlier when I mentioned some of you may already actively participate in a critical thinking or deductive reasoning building game that is also a vocabulary skill building game. Wordle. And if you're aware of Wordle, then you already know how I play. And somebody says, yes, they play every day. Excellent. I tend to as well. I did not play today, however, on purpose, so I could demonstrate briefly. But for those that haven't played before, the game. Oh, I thought it was going to pull up my the rules real quick. Okay, well, let me go. The game is essentially you have 6 chances to guess the word of the day, and you can start with any word you want, and the machine gives you feedback as to how you do. So if you guess a word and the letters come back gray, then those letters are not in the final word. If they come back yellow, then they are in the final word, but you don't have them in the proper position yet. And if they come back green, then they're in the proper position and they are in the final word. And so, as the little picture on our PowerPoint said, coincidentally, I often start with stare, kind of like a Wheel of Fortune type thing you're thinking here. What are common letters that might be in words in a very common order? And so it'll tell me right now that I have two letters that are in the improper places, but are in the final word. Does anybody have a quick suggestion as to what I might try next? A good starter word. Yes, you might have had a different one, but does anybody have an idea of what another close? Close would be a good starter word. Close wouldn't be good for this one because it doesn't have a T, right? Anybody else out there have one? We won't sit on this for too long, but we'll just try one or two entries if someone has a suggestion. So this may not be the smartest idea because I'm not using, oh, nope. So what if I did this? I need my T and my E in there, and they need to be in different places. Tiers, okay. Techie, maybe. I wonder if it would take techie. Let's try techie and see. I'm just curious now. Good guess. Oh, it let me try techie. Okay, cool. Excellent. So the E is now in the correct place, but the word does not start with a T. So if we make another guess, we'll have to move the T down here somewhere and put new words in our new letters in the other spots, but leave our E where it is. Okay. So I'm kind of feeling like the person on Wheel of Fortune who doesn't know a very simple word now because I'm like a deer in headlights trying to think of another real easy one. There we go. Good choice. All right. Help from the chat bar. I like baguette. We'll try that. And it feels very fancy, like a good word to talk with your students about. Oh, but it's not it. So it doesn't end in a T, and now it doesn't have an R, a Y, an A, an S, a G, an H, a C, or a B. So you can see how this can be very fun to get involved in, and sometimes just for kind of jumping ahead to how you can use this in a classroom. Um, just this summer, oh, that might be it, except there's no A. Sorry, Robert. Good guess, though. See, this is tricky. What I did is we had a 3-hour block class, and we would take a break about halfway through. And when students came back from the break, they'd sit down and work on the Wordle. And then that would give time if they came back quicker than someone else, they could get started and not just be sitting there twiddling their thumbs waiting for class to start. Ooh, depth might be it. Let me try that one. But they also, some students that wanted to work on it longer could have a little extra time because they could do it during the break or that sort of thing. And what's interesting is that class was we're getting closer. That class was a mixed English language learner and native English speaker class. And it was extremely fun on several occasions where the English language learners got very excited because they got the words first in some occasions. Ooh, detox. We'll try that and then we'll move on in just a moment. Another good guess. Oh, that was it. Excellent. Tracy for the win. Good job. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm glad we went ahead and got there because the thing is, it tries to ask you if you want to sign up right now. You don't have to, and your students don't have to either. Like it says, it just tracks your stats and your streaks. So it gamifies it more because you want to continue to play and have a better streak and get it quicker and all those kinds of things. But if your students are uncomfortable signing up for things or have trouble remembering those logins and such, not necessary. You can play every day without signing in. Okay, excellent. So I'm glad we got to look a little deeper at Wordle, but now there's something called Quordle, and it works the exact same way, except there's 4 words at once, and the guesses are all locked together. And so the same students in that class that I was having do the Wordle, some of the students get better at it more quickly. Or there were a few cases where, a few of the native language speakers were a little more comfortable at the beginning of the semester and played it a little quicker. And then you don't want some students sitting waiting while others are still playing the game, kind of defeats the whole point of having it during that break where we didn't want them sitting and waiting. But you can have the more advanced ones try the Quordle if they run out, if they get their Wordle and they run out of, before they run out of time, they don't want to just sit there. And then if everybody finishes or not after the allotted amount of 5 or 10 minutes or whatever you're doing, we can just stop. But this is one way to add a little extra filler with an extra level. Again, that natural competition with ourselves and others to do something more challenging, or another thing to have them do outside of class. So Wordle's through the Webster Dictionary, Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And like I said, it works the exact same way. And I'm just going to show you how they're all tied together by putting in our starter word, and then we'll move on. So again, stare was our starter. And you could see in this corner, the top left, S is in the right place. There is a T and an E, but they're in the wrong place. Top right, the T and an A are in the word, but they're in the wrong place. Oh, whoops, I made some lines. Sorry, y'all. Bottom left, S is there, but none of the rest of the letters were correct. So this starts with an S and then is all new letters. And then this one, A and R are correct, but the A is in the wrong place. Now, if we guess another word, it'll load that for all of them. So again, say I go, how about, what would be a good one here? Sound, maybe. Okay, oh, that's wrong still for this, but I got an N over here, an O for this one, and nothing else for up there. So you see, they're all connected. You get more options. I think it's 8 instead of 6, but they're all together. So more complicated for your students. More fun still, right? Okay, let me close a few of these just to make sure my computer doesn't have a problem. So that's all there is to Wordle, but it's the Quordle, 4 for our Wordle. And another great option. Let's move on. Scrabble, another classic that y'all are probably used to, but can be a lot of fun for students, either together or on their own. This can be a fun homework game where they share their score with you or something. But there's a variety of online Scrabble opportunities. I prefer this one. It doesn't really matter. This one is really easy without signing up or anything, to just click play the computer and continue as a guest. See, it tries to make you sign in, but you don't have to. The students can if they want. But again, I like these sites where people don't have to join if they don't want to. So continue as a guest, continue as a guest. Why is it making me do it twice? Okay, there we go. And then you just set how long you want the game to be. 3 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, do 15 minutes. What level? No, we'll do medium and start the game. And the computer will go first. And then it's just like every Scrabble you've ever played. And so your students can practice looking at the options they have here and how they can build words off of those options some way. And again, a fun language learning thing. They can only use words they know. So if they get into playing Scrabble, they may be more motivated to learn more and more vocabulary that's useful. Probably lots of 4 and 5 and 6-letter words, right? But again, nothing fancy here, but another suggestion you may not have thought of or kind of forgotten over time, and one that my students really enjoy. Now, here's one I'm not sure if you've heard of. I just discovered it not long ago. Blossom. And again, it's one of these kind of critical thinking and vocabulary games, because you're given this flower, this blossom. You have to use the center letter in any word you create, and then you use the outer letters as much to create as long a word as you can. Basically, in this one, it looks like we want to create, I think all of them are 12 words. And the longer the word, the more points you get. And so you're trying to make as many points as possible. And again, this is a great one for competing with yourself or competing with classmates. We've mentioned before, we kind of have this natural competition instinct built into us. We just have to remember to temper it in class a little bit, because we're all here to learn and get better together, not to to beat each other too much. That's just to keep us motivated, right? We're not there just for the win. But Blossom's pretty cool. Let me open it up for you just a second here. And we'll say play. And here we go. So this word, we have to use an E. Doesn't matter where in the word. And then we want to use as many of these other letters as we can. So we could do something like haste. Okay. And see how the E's in yellow because it had to make sure I used it. And it's like, great, that's one of your words. Now you want to make more and more longer word. Well, 12 words, all longer. Does anybody have a suggestion for a second word, maybe, that we should try here? Hearse. All right, good one. Whoops, I clicked on the chat. Gotta get back on the game. Oh, whoops, I put a T by accident. Ah, so you have to practice your typing too. Oh, there you go. Hot. All right. What else am I seeing? Ooh, thesaurus. Now, somebody, Lisa's, you're true. There's rats. I see lots of them. Let's do thesaurus. Let's see how much we can get. Thesaurus. Whoops. There we go. Woo! All right, that was top score. I'll admit I've never gotten one as long as a thesaurus. And I've seen more coming in. Hoss, yeah, excellent. So y'all get it. You see how this works already. And if you're going along and you're kind of stuck, you can click shuffle and it moves all the letters around, but it's still the same letters. If you quit and play again, you can get new letters. Yes, you can use the letters more than once. Sorry for not making that clear. Good question, Shanice. Yes, you can, like we did in thesaurus. And again, the more the merrier as far as they're concerned for this one, right? So a totally different kind of vocabulary game, critical thinking and thinking about your spelling and how to combine different things. You know, again, it's kind of building on the same sorts of things we've been talking about, but just another approach, another activity to mix things up. All right, here's another one, two for goofer. So rhyming, and this can be a lot of fun, especially for English language learners, because you're learning to hear the language. Let's open it up here. Okay, so this is kind of funny. What's a kind of rainbow fish that's a rainbow, a rainbow kind of fish that is chubby? So it's like a riddle kind of. So a language riddle and it rhymes. So what do you think of if you hear rainbow fish? You hear a rainbow. Anybody know? No fishermen or women in here? I'm not either, but perfect. Exactly. Man, Tracy's hot today. Robert's right there with the second one. Yes, a rainbow trout. So a rainbow fish that's tubby is some kind of trout. What kind of trout? Yes, Monica, very good. A stout trout. Yay! Okay, and that's all it is. And you can play another or just have it be one, or we might not do it. Let's see. A yellow flesh, gosh, I can't read today. I'm on fish again from the last one. Yellow fleshed fruit performing a postured partner dance. They are brain teasers. Oh, there you go. Good job. So let's see. A banana mango, a mang, a mango tango. Hey, all right. Y'all are hot. Yeah. Hey, who suggested orange? Tell me what rhymes with orange. That's one of those classic, Yasmin. Nothing exactly, Faye. That's the problem. No, sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's all good. This is the fun learning, right? We're not trying to, yeah, not to be confrontational. That was great, though. Thank you, everybody. So you can see another really silly one, but you can see how, just like when kids learn rhymes and nursery rhymes, and, that's part of learning language. and learning the sing-songy kind of nature of the kind of metacognition that is language, right? And so this can be another fun way to include or reinforce some of the vocabulary you're working on. Now I realize, this is something, some of these can be used with, depending on the level you use for it, with lower level ESOL students, and some like this are going to have to be pretty high level, but of course, great for your native English speakers too. All right. And then another one here. I think this is where, no, this isn't the last one. We're closing in on the last few here, but this looks like a crossword puzzle, but instead of the crossword puzzle, which can be quite frustrating at times with crazy clues, I don't know, maybe we have some crossword aficionados out there that don't feel that way. But man, they can be tough, right? But this is really just language and pattern stuff, because this is just looking for the length of word letter that fits where, like you're just filling it in. So there's certain 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 letter words in the list, and you have to figure out where they go, right? So there's on this one, for example, there's cozy is one of the letters, 4-letter words. Well, it could go right up here under at the top under fall going down as cozy, or it could go right over here close to the spider web as cozy. But then you have to figure out where the other words fit in. And again, it could just be kind of a fun, more pattern and critical thinking sort of recognition, skill development kind of thing built in with some vocabulary. And then you can reinforce what these words are by defining them, maybe creating a piece of writing using them in a conversation in class, whatever activities you want to build off that. Could fit in that fall story time that you were, someone was discussing earlier. Here's a crossword fill-in, right? So, and let me show you this link to this site here. Here we go. So again, it's just fill-ins, and you type them in. Like here we have a 3-letter word going down that starts with an E. Well, it's either ebb. Whoops. Oh, I guess it's not ebb. It doesn't want to go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you have to each one on this. So it's ebb we could put in for now. But then we have to go along and figure out, well, does anything end with something, a B and then something else that's that short? Advisable is pretty long. It probably doesn't go there. I don't see anything else. So this can't be ebb. So it must be what? Era was the other option. And then we can look for something that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and ends with something by an R. RY. What? Oh, is hereby in here? Did I miss it? Oh, it was. That could have been hereby. Thanks for the save, Jane. I jumped off too quickly. But y'all see how it works. And again, it's just another option along these lines to get students involved in a little game that's related to some language learning. And if I recall correctly, yeah, over here you can reset the game, start a new game, things about that nature, things like that. The controls kind of here off to the right. Now, what I wanted to make clear to everybody, I was going to send, as soon as this session's over, I'll be sharing the PowerPoint with Stephanie so she can share them with y'all. And I believe we'll just be sharing a printout of the slides. But before I do that, I will double check and make sure the specific link is written out in the notes, or maybe I'll just write it out on every slide page so they won't look quite as pretty, but instead of you having to worry about the link not being live, or maybe I'll just ask them to share the PowerPoint with you, which is totally fine with me, and then the links will all be live. You can just go where you want.
I think, Harold, at least we can create a PowerPoint that maintains the links, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we'll do that instead. And then, so everybody will have all these live links. You don't have to memorize each place as we go. Okay. Whoops. So another one to kind of, we're going to close with here. The Quordle came from the dictionary site, But they have a wide variety of other games as well. And I just want to highlight some of these here. Um, so this is their latest quizzes, all towards the top. They have a variety of other games here off on the left. You can see here is just where I got Blossom because I got turned on to Quordle a while back, and then Blossom seemed cool. But there's some other things as well here. Oh, that's where I got Two for Goofer too. Um, Now, in this main, just random latest ones, they have things like commonly misspelled words. Well, this can be a fun quiz to help students, English language learners and native language learners, work through stuff that's often mistaken, right? Another great one in here for that kind of thing, commonly confused words, right? And some of these included in here are things that are specifically noted for those of you helping with GED preparation as words that on the extended response, even though they generally overlook spelling issues because they realize it's a draft, and if you've got the letters more or less there and they can figure out what you're trying to write, they'll give you credit for that, except on certain words that are commonly confused. Two and two, there and there, you're and your, it's and its, things of that nature. And those are included in this commonly confused section here, even though this little highlight is mentioning break and pour and cash and cash, things of that nature. But lots of stuff in here in terms of vocabulary and word-centered things. Yeah, it's kind of cool, kind of fun. And I feel like there was one more in here I wanted to show you, but I'm not recalling that right now. So no wonders, or no worries. It's lots of good stuff in here, and I encourage you to explore the latest and past quizzes, and you can search under kind of different topics and things. Okay, so how can we use some of these in our lessons, in our activities on a regular basis? Well, as a warm-up, they're great. Oh, here we go. We've got a good idea. So, excellent. Someone's getting ahead of me because they knew it was coming. Wonderful. Thanks, Faye. So Faye says here that I print out a grid to use as a blank Scrabble-like board, insert it in a clear plastic sleeve, then two students can fill in the grid Scrabble style. Oh, excellent. And we select from the, right. And so instead of having boxes that you're required to fill in, like the fill-in game, you play off one another, right? I think, what is that word? Is that the game that used to come in a little banana shaped bag, and there was another one maybe in another shaped bag that was kind of Scrabble style, but there's no board, like you say. Yeah, bananagrams. Excellent. That's kind of what you're describing, right, Faye? That sounds excellent.
No, not bananagrams. Mine looks like a Scrabble board, and they have dry erase pens.
Oh,
okay. And a vocabulary list of current vocabulary words. So they're getting practiced spelling them.
Right.
And pulling on prior knowledge of other words to fill in. They know that Z's get high scores, so there's going to be a lot of fizz and buzz.
Right,
but,
right.
It's something that two people or more can, or one alone, just to get your score.
Excellent. And then freerice.com is another great game for vocabulary and synonyms. I pulled it up here. It's from the UN. Wow. Every correct answer is 10 grains of rice. Well, amazing. So you can learn, play, and do a service project all at the same time. I'm going to have to save this one and check this out a little deeper later as well. Wow. Thanks for sharing that, Stephanie. And then bananagrams, like we mentioned, is kind of similar. I hadn't quite gotten deep enough into Faye's explanation here with the double points and stuff. I see now it's really, as she mentioned, a Scrabble game to manipulate for whatever the daily or monthly vocab theme and words are. But bananagrams can be a fun one too, where you're similarly trying to encourage students to use a certain word set, but others might, I don't know, be necessary depending if you get stuck, I guess. But maybe you all know how that works, where you build out essentially Scrabble style, but with no real points. It's just to run out of the letters first, and you're building off the other letters that someone else has already set down. A lot of fun. Now, was there another one I missed so far? No. Okay, great. Thanks. Great ideas. Other ways to pull these into class in any game, really. These are kind of some standard gamification things. Warm-ups. Warm-ups are a great way. I often have students plan on starting a game right when they come in class. And that game is they're running on, they can come in and start if they get to class 5 minutes early. And usually I'll run it for 5 or 10 minutes into class. So if students are running a little late, they can come in and sit down and start the game without disrupting a lesson that's already ongoing. And then hopefully everybody's there and ready to start the lesson after, 10 or 15 minutes or whatever amount of time you wanted to give to that kind of warm up game period. Sometimes you can have games during instruction. It can be a lot of fun to mix things up. You can use games for reinforcing activities or reviewing and assessing things instead of a quiz or something. You can have a game, right? Homework, independent study practice. A lot of these things like Wordle or Quordle, students can develop a little habit for it. And they're free to download on your phone and find easily lots of these things. And so often I check in with students about, hey, did you do the Wordle today? Or that sort of a thing. And then you can have students try and help you create games in class if you like. That can be a fun way to get another level of involvement, right? Is helping students create the games they want to play. And yeah, there's lots of options here. And I'd like to just make sure that y'all have an opportunity to share some other things you've done, maybe, or experiences you've had, successes or challenges even with gamifying your classroom. And if there's things that the others might benefit from. Also, while we're kind of drawing towards the end of our time together and getting to this, in the chat, there is a form from Stephanie from the Florida Literacy Coalition about just a little feedback about things, and we'd love to hear your feedback on today's activities. So I see there in the chat that Brenda is sharing that they played Hangman with clues as to the word. Excellent. Yeah, another fun game. You're right. Hangman's great. Another says we can use adjectives, verbs, any vocabulary. Correct. Yes, I agree. Exactly. I guess a lot of the activities we saw today were just kind of nouns as examples in there. But absolutely, you could and should use other types of vocabulary, adjectives, verbs, all that kind of thing. Excellent. Yeah, I like it. Good suggestion, Faye. I was thinking that I was trying to come up with something to say about Hangman and how it is a little violent for the lovely learning language classroom we've tried to develop. But then again, when I was younger, I never thought much of it. But I like that into building something instead. There you go. Thanks for that suggestion. There you go. Yes, let's build the pumpkin. Let's build the snowman. Yeah, kind of like kind of like if anybody's played horse when shooting baskets, right? You build the word when you make a mistake. You're kind of building the horse, and the one that gets the thing built first loses. But at least you're not tearing it down, right? Anyhow, well, great. Those are some wonderful suggestions. I hope that this whole activity today has gotten you thinking a little bit about how you can use these games or other games in your classroom. Today, I just shared a large variety of online games, but of course, gamification doesn't have to be anything fancy online. It can be the classic race to the board and which team competes or completes something first. I was working with some chemistry students recently, and we had race to the board balancing equation challenges and competitions. Which team could balance the equation first? And that's gamification. We didn't have to use any simple or any fancy tool. And yes, I see some people throwing out some things that I've used in the past and forgot to include here or didn't. Something as simple as some Kahoots with a vocabulary list. That's another one of those that you have to review them a little bit ahead of time to make sure everything's spelled properly and stuff. But there are a lot of Kahoots out there already created that you can find to use. Similar with Quizlets, if you want to use some built quizzes already. Um, yes, and good point, Don. A lot of these things, especially things like Scrabble or the bananagrams or things of that nature, can be geared up or down depending on the student level and the group, and things of that nature, made more difficult for the higher level students. That's one of the beauties of some of these activities. Oh, and I like your idea here, a little more, yeah. So like strips of paper, phrases of vocabulary folded, draw, read, type, make a sentence. Ah, is this where you want each person gets a piece of the strip and they rearrange to create the answer? Or am I reading something different here?
No, you have a vocabulary list or a
Mm-hmm.
phrases list, depending on the level of your students.
Mm-hmm.
And then one student draws a paper, and the task may be to read it
Mm-hmm.
or to make a sentence using the phrase,
Oh,
depending
okay.
on what's on the strip of paper. You can
Gotcha.
have a little game board and move the pieces along
Gotcha. That
when you
sounds
do it
great.
successfully.
Yeah.
And
What?
no going backwards for mistakes. You just stay where you are.
Oh, fair enough. That sounds good. I always hated it when you got pushed back in a board game. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. That was great. I was envisioning something I've seen done in some ESOL classes before where people pull different pieces of a sentence out and they have to rearrange or create the proper order. Another
Yeah,
different
that
kind of an
that's
activity.
yeah, that's totally different, but also
Yeah.
a good one. You can
Yeah, thank
start with two or three phrases of a sentence, or you to the extreme of all the words separate,
excellent.
depending on the level of the students.
Sure, sure. And I see some other thoughts in the chat here. Great. I agree. Using newspapers and publications and stuff like authentic resources for vocabulary. If students are comfortable doing it, have them bring in things that they're trying to read and understand from work or life, or I keep bringing up health and medical sorts of things, but those things can get confusing. And you can have and bringing that into kind of gamifies in the sense of it motivates more the learning lesson instead of learning words out of an important context. Games for ELS. Okay, sorry, I couldn't read that at first. My eyes are fighting me. That sounds like a cool site. We'll have to check that out. Thanks, Carolyn. Um, Quiddler. Each card has a letter or two, and the challenge is to create a short word with your cards. Okay, that sounds interesting. So then you're forced to use combinations of things like Q and U often go together, or T and H, or I imagine you probably have some cards that are double E's or EA or things like that as well, maybe. Very cool. Picture dictionaries. Excellent. Those can be fun too. Wonderful. All right, y'all have some great ideas. Well, you maybe didn't need to sit through this webinar. You got great stuff going on, but I hope you learned or heard about some valuable insights and other other tools you can add to your toolbox. Um, if you have any other thoughts or questions, please share them now. Please feel free to follow up with me later if you'd like to. Again, we'll make sure that we get this PowerPoint out to you so that you can have access to the links we used today. And yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Harold. And well, let's open it up. If anybody has any questions, you can just unmute yourself. That would be fine, or any suggestions. Um, I actually had one question, Harold, that you mentioned sort of doing games or encouraging your students to do games outside the class or maybe as homework assignments. Did you find that to be successful, to allow them to kind of do some additional practice outside of class?
Well, to be honest, as we know, it all depends on the student and the commitment level.
Yeah.
But I did have more students than I expected get to where they were doing the Wordle and the Quordle every day. And I do believe now again these were students who were kind of closing in on their end time with their final goal was kind of close, but it did seem to reinforce or motivate them to come in every day and do a little something extra and come in and, hey, Mr. Harold, I did the Wordle today. Did you get it? I was like, no, what are you doing here today, though? You're not in class. Oh, I'm studying in the learning lab, so it was kind of, there is a motivating factor with some students. But again, just to be straightforward, there will be some that won't get into it, as with
Right,
anything,
right.
right?
Well,
But,
that
but yeah,
probably,
I've found it to be beneficial. I need to do some hard data research somehow on these things so I can provide that kind of backing evidence.
okay. Well, it's
But yeah,
interesting your experience. Any other questions?
Harold,
Yeah, go
if
yes.
ahead.
you ever come across a game that makes it fun to teach digital literacy, please keep me in mind.
All right. There's, well, depending on what you're talking about. Now, this is just a little hint of digital literacy, but have you ever heard of Mousercise for helping a game for mouse use?
No.
All right, let me see here. Mousercise, I think is how it is. No, not the PBS game. Oh, darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Hold on, let me think here. Oh, darn it. Now I'm not gonna be able to find it. Now I'm on the spot. I'll find it for you and send it
Okay.
out because it's better than some of these little mouse games, but it starts
Oh,
with
is
there's a
that it?
number in the top right corner, click it. There's a number in the left corner, click it. And they get smaller as you go and they get
Oh.
embedded in the middle of other numbers, and then there's
Was
like,
that it? If you scroll down, right? Where was it? I thought I just saw something that said a extra game for learning how to do
oh wait,
Are you
mouse.
this
talking
might be
about?
it. Yes, it is. Here we
Oh,
go.
okay.
Okay, so I'll share this with y'all. It's through pbc.gov.
Okay.
Mouser size. So let's start mouser sizing. And on the left here of my screen, you'll see it says click the 1. And then now the 2 is way over on the right. And the 3 is down below. It's going to be smaller. And then they keep moving them and they keep getting smaller. And I'm going quick so you can see when it changes. Now we're at the 7. Now the 8. So it's harder and harder to. Now you've got to hit the 9 in the middle of the 3s. And it explains all this. I'm not giving y'all time to read it, I know. But you can see how it's getting harder and harder for someone that's not good with their mouse. Now here it'll say, if you hover over it, which one is a link? Well, notice if I'm hovering over them, I'm getting the icon to type. So that's not going to be a link. That's not a link. That's not, oh, there we go. I got my little finger, my little hand. So now I've learned that a little hand is what I use to click for a link, right?
Oh.
And now it's one of the phrases is also a link. So find it. Well, it's not the first one. It's not the second. It's not the third. Oh, it's the fourth because I got my little hand. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps building like that. It keeps
Okay.
saying, click me, showing you all the different things you could click, and then find what's a link because a picture could be a link. And then there's a game that's a maze that you have to go through it. But it's a great little mouser size, as they say, little exercise for mousing.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Now, as long as just for one other quick thing that I thought of that I
Okay.
didn't share with everyone that has nothing to do with computers or vocabulary, but this group might enjoy. Has anybody ever played Nerdle?
No.
It is the order of operations version of Wordle and Quordle. So you have to put in numbers to build an equation that's true, and it'll
Ooh.
tell you if you're close or what to move and whatnot, but you don't get any parentheses. And it works just like the other sorts of Wordle games. So if you really want to try something with your math group, this can be one to push them over the edge. Yeah, I see Jane
This
goes,
is
oh
awesome.
no.
Oh, yay.
But it's quite fun as well. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
Okay, well, it sounds
right,
like there aren't any. So thank you again, Harold. You gave us a lot of great suggestions here. A lot of food for thought in terms of how to help gamify our instruction. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Again, we'll be sending out the video and the PowerPoint slides. Please do give us your feedback with the session evaluation. And otherwise, I hope everyone has a good afternoon. Thanks.